Coming up on this week's edition of Ncba's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We have some encouraging news on how U.S. beef exports have fared so far in 2018. Plus, we'll tell you how you can get hands-on cattle care training at Stockmanship and Stewardship events across the country.
Now, from the Denver headquarters of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, it's Ncba's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to Ncba's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Topping this week's show, international demand for U.S. beef remains strong, and this year's export market is running well ahead of last year's pace. This means 2018's exports could easily surpass last year's numbers and establish a new all-time record. According to data released by USDA and compiled by the U.S. Meat Export Federation, July beef exports climbed 12% in volume to just over 116,000 metric tons, while export value surged 16% to $722 million. For January through July, beef exports are up 10% in volume and 20% in value compared to the same time period last year. Global population growth is one of the factors increasing demand for U.S. beef in countries around the world. Another is the work of the U.S. Meat Export Federation, or USMEF, which has worked to increase demand for U.S. red meat overseas. Brian Baxter has more on this valuable organization.
Headquartered in Denver, but with offices worldwide, USMEF operates much like a state beef council, working to educate consumers on the high quality of U.S. beef. Their audience just happens to be international instead of domestic.
USMEF is the United States Meat Export Federation, and this is a group of people staffed out of Denver but located all over the world to help us build relationships in foreign countries such as China, Japan, Mexico, Canada, the Caribbean. And they're in those countries developing relationships with the culture and people of the country to allow us to export beef to those countries. We have to understand how they cook and what they like, and can we build a demand for U.S. beef there, and how do we do it?
The difference between an international consumer and a domestic U.S. consumer is different cultures have priorities on what they like to eat, and so it just happens to be across the world there's different cultures that will pay a premium for our products that necessarily the U.S. consumer doesn't particularly want to pay a premium for. So we can ship those products overseas, collect a premium for them, and it's a win-win situation for everybody.
So USMEF has the ability, country to country, to really know what that consumer's thinking. And it's really neat to see how consumer preferences are very different. USMEF has the ability to understand that. And I think from a producer myself who pays into the checkoff, you know, there's a real sense of pride here in the fact that we have this entity that is all over the world and can go out there and market beef and get it to consumers and get it to them in a way that they want it.
I think what helps make U.S. beef so easy for us to promote overseas is that the quality is excellent. We're able to differentiate it from the competition and really create that separation from what's out there as far as other competition, and that adds a lot of value to it then.
As a contractor to the beef checkoff, USMEF receives a portion of their funding not only from the beef checkoff, but other commodity checkoffs that also have an interest in international markets and beef exports.
As a checkoff in Kansas, Kansas Corn has supported the U.S. Meat Export Federation for decades. We feel it's really important. We'd actually prefer that corn not leave the state as corn. We'd like it to leave as beef or as ethanol, as a value-added product. And so we continue to support U.S. Meat Export Federation.
I think it's very important to have them as a contractor for the beef checkoff. One, there are cuts of beef that are not consumed in the United States that the Asian markets do. It's a delicacy over there, so it's an added value to the carcass of our animals to be able to export that to nations that appreciate it.
We've seen a lot of good return on investment, if you will, from investing in USMEF with checkoff dollars and state checkoff dollars. So there's a lot of collaborative work that happens. We will work with them through the Federation directly, through the Beef Promotion Operating Committee and joint investment there, as well as states joining in on efforts on their own with their 50 cents kept at home. The return on that investment, we learned this week, is anywhere from almost $3.50 up to over $12 per dollar invested. And if we could do that with every dollar we invest as farmers and ranchers, we would have a lot better years than we do sometimes right now. So that's very important, coming back to our own pocketbooks on our farms.
Ncba enjoys a cooperative relationship with USMEF and is proud to support their mission of putting U.S. meat on the world's table.
The U.S. Meat Export Federation is a vital partner in our trade efforts across the world. And by working together, especially with USMEF, has offices across the world, and the staff in those different countries provide on-the-ground intelligence. And so it's really important to have that information, and Ncba carry out the policy side of things and working with the governments.
All of our activities and efforts that we are doing are in the international markets to build demand and educate the buyers and educate the consumers on why U.S. beef is better than the competition. So we don't necessarily do a lot of research or things like that. So Ncba does that, so they have a lot of information and materials on beef and beef production that we can utilize then in the international markets to be able to sell it and explain why our product's different. And then also there's the different programs, like BQA, things like that, that we use when we talk about the beef production system in the U.S. and the advantages and what we do to ensure that we've got the highest quality, safest beef available on the market. So I'm always excited when you're there and they're tasting it, and they put it in their mouth and they get a big smile and they're like, wow, this American beef is really delicious. So they're like saying American beef wa totemo oishii desu ne. So it just means, wow, it's very delicious. So, that's what I like to hear, and that's what we're producing here.
I'm Brian Baxter reporting for Ncba's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
And joining me now is Dan Hallstrm, President and CEO of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Dan, we just took a look at some of the great work that USMEF does to build demand for U.S. beef around the globe. And I guess I'm curious, how do you build demand? What are the strategies you use to build demand in so many diverse markets?
Well, Kevin, it varies, as you can imagine, but two of the basic things that go across all markets is education, for one. Telling our story, differentiating ourselves versus the competition. Education really goes into everything that we do in one way, shape, or form. The other thing that we do in most of these markets as they evolve and develop is, we then get into the promotion mode where which was really the tip of the spear after all that educational work is done. And I really don't think there's any better example of that than what we've seen in Korea. Korea is absolutely on fire at the moment, and it's really the culmination of a lot of work, because if you remember pre-BSE,
right,
where Korea at that point was on fire at that time.
Big market for us, yeah.
Big market. And what we then went 2 or 3 years where we were out of the market, and we've been scratching back ever since. And through many, many years now, going on, 14, 15 years since we've re-entered, we've seen slow, steady growth back into Korea. And this is a result of a lot of this work that I'm talking about. And I'm happy to report that in 2018 to date, that for the first time since BSE, the U.S. market share of imports has exceeded that of Australia. So this is really, we're at about a 50% share of imports versus 43% with Australia. And this, in my mind, is really a monumental accomplishment in the fact that it's been a long, hard slog since we saw BSE hit in 2003.
Yeah, and earlier in the show, we talked about some of the record-setting work that you're doing in U.S. beef exports, the good news for beef producers. Dan, do you think there's still room for more growth?
I definitely do think there is. I mean, we're seeing emerging economies all over the world. We're seeing increasing per capita consumption in places like Japan and Korea, are two of our larger markets. And in the case of Korea, last year we were at $1.2 billion in sales, which is a record for Korea. And this year we're 20% above that. So we're going to be well in excess of probably maybe approaching $2 billion just for Korea. So, this is exciting. We were $7.3 billion in total last year, which was a record on value. And we're running, 15 to 20% up this year.
It's great news.
So I think all things considered, there is room for growth in the emerging markets and the established markets. And You know, if we're only 50% market share of imports in places like Japan and Korea, pre-BSE we were 70%, there's room for growth.
So let's talk about some of the emerging markets. What are some of the net new markets or growing markets that you see for our product?
Yeah, I think in the last 5 years, 2 regions that really stand out are Central and South America.
Okay.
You know, if you look at any one country, they're relatively small, but you add them up, you know, places like Guatemala, Panama, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Colombia in South America, Peru, as a total, it's really impressive, the growth. So that's one area that's already going. And another area that's new, fairly new in the last 2 or 3 years is Africa. You know, West Africa and South Africa, Angola, Ghana stand out. And in fact, our second largest region for beef variety meats last year was Africa, you know, behind Egypt. So, you know, I think this is indicative of, you have the youngest demographic in the world, 1 billion plus people in Africa, and it's the youngest demographic in the world. Wow. And you're starting to see a very small middle class slowly expanding. So I think this is, and we've been doing work there now for 4 years actively, and I think we're starting to see some of the fruits of our work come through.
That's fantastic. You can't pick up a newspaper today without reading something about trade wars and tariffs, and know it's a hot topic in all of agriculture and all of America, frankly. Should we as beef producers be concerned, Dan?
Well, I think anytime you're talking tariffs on our goods going into a market, just economics tells you, yes, we need to be concerned. And the best example that I could give you right now on the beef side would be China at the moment. Early July, in retaliation to some of the ongoing issues with China, we saw our beef duties increase 25%. We went from, you know, roughly 12% up to 37% now. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty worried when that happened, because, you know, we already have a very high value product going in there that's hormone free and beta agonist free, et cetera. But I was surprisingly welcome to see the July stats. The July stats came out, and just to give you some background, January to June, we were averaging about 600 tons a month direct into China, which isn't a lot, but it's up from where it started a year ago. And in the month of July, which was the first month with duties, we ran about 500 tons. So honestly, I was expecting it was better than I expected, and I think it just drives home the fact that China is looking for our high quality, tasty beef. They have a lot of beef in China that's imported, but it's Australian grass-fed, it's Brazilian, it's Indian buffalo meat. I mean, you can't find a knife sharp enough to cut that. But so we're being compared against other types of product that are not really what we're targeting. So I think it's just a testament to the fact that there is demand for our beef in China.
So what's the final message you'd share with our members and our viewers relative to beef exports and the work of USMEF? Well,
I think, yeah, it's the work of USMEF, but we have a lot of partners out there, and there's no partner greater than Ncba and the beef checkoff. We get a lot of funding from the beef checkoff, and it's very, very much appreciated. And I think, you know, you see it through our work, the results. And you know, I think a good example of some other work that needs to be done is we still have an issue with Japan. Japan's our largest value market, over $2 billion in sales. But we are at a duty differential currently. Australia has a free trade agreement where they're about a 12% duty advantage going in. So this is a good example where we partner with Ncba and the team in DC, and you know, we're not a policy organization. Ncba is on the beef side, and so we partner very closely with Ncba, and we provide a lot of intel that comes back from the markets, and we support them. And you know, this is a good example of, you know, working together to leverage these dollars.
Yeah. Demand growth really is based on both policy as well as demand generation. It takes both of those elements, doesn't it?
Yep. You need the markets open to capitalize. So in that regard, you know, we definitely appreciate the partnership.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you for coming and sharing with us your insight.
My pleasure, anytime.
To learn more about the work of the U.S. Meat Export Federation and its efforts to enhance U.S. beef demand overseas, visit their website at usmef.org. And don't forget, Ncba is committed to improving the business climate for U.S. cattle producers and growing global beef demand. But that success depends in part on a strong membership base. Joining is easy. Just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll head to South Carolina for a Stockmanship and Stewardship event that is helping to educate producers on improved cattle handling. And later, we'll take you to an award-winning family ranch in Texas. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
On the farm or ranch, time is the one thing you never have enough of. That's why you need the Case IH Maxim Series tractor paired with the L10 Series loader to help you turn your to-dos into to-dones. Maxim tractors are available with 3 transmission configurations to meet your demands and your budget. Maxim tractors with the new Active Drive 8 transmission allow you to work from 2 to 10 miles per hour without shifting ranges. Inside the comfortable Maxim cab, a high-visibility roof panel helps you safely and quickly stack bales. With the Case IH Maxim Series tractors and L10 Series loaders, you'll get the perfect match to put more free time back in your day so you can spend it on the other important things in your life. Once you drive a Case IH Maxim Series tractor, you'll understand why customers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Talk to your local Case IH dealer or visit caseih.com/minute to schedule a demo.
Welcome back. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is holding regional stockmanship and stewardship events across the country that offer valuable lessons in hands-on cattle care training. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Kate Maher caught up with one of the experts at a recent event.
Thanks, Kevin. You know, cattle handling skills are important to producers of all sizes, and we're here with one of the experts in cattle handling, Mr. Kurt Pate. Kurt, I've watched many cattle handling demonstrations that you put on, and I learn something new every time. Talk about stewardship and stockmanship and just how it's evolved and how producers can really utilize it.
So I kind of was at the beginning of this thing. I got lucky and we did the first one in Texas, and then we brought it on to the Ncba convention in Denver one time. And I kind of pitched the idea, and they went with it. And I thought we'd just have a couple of times, and it has just grown more and more and more. And this new Stockmanship and Stewardship program that they've got going now is just, I couldn't have dreamed it would have been so good. They've done such a great job of promoting and bringing folks in for total stockmanship, not just cattle handling, but the whole picture. And that's what stockmanship and stewardship is all about.
And that's a really great point, the whole picture. And these clinics have been put on all across the country. How can producers of any size, regardless of their region, regardless of their facilities, really take these skills back and use them?
There's a lot of ways to go about working cattle. And what I try to promote for myself, and I come from the horse world where this has been happening for quite a while, and it has in the cattle world as well, but we just didn't know we were doing it. But I try to work with feel, timing, and balance. And that's a nice 3 words. And so if we can use feel, timing, and balance, feel means how much pressure you use or don't use, timing, pressuring at the right time, and balancing the two, then your facilities don't matter so much, your crew doesn't matter so much, your cattle don't matter as much because you fit the situation. So that's what I try to promote with the things we do in these cattle handling demonstrations. Common sense is hard to teach. Field timing balance is hard to teach. And so I think Ron and I have kind of a good combination of 2 different styles, kind of, but bringing them together, and when people walk out of here, they have ideas to go home with and think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's additional benefits other than just lower stress on the cattle. It's what other benefits to producers are there in terms of safety and economics even?
Yeah, and that's the big thing we need to start proving in our world is it's really hard to gauge what loading cattle on a trailer or loading cattle on a truck, right, what effects the cattle handling or the stockmanship makes, because there's so many different variables. So that's the next thing we have to do with our stockmanship and stewardship is get proof that stockmanship does make a difference on the bottom line for safety, and I say for human stress or non-stress.
You made a comment earlier about the cow-calf producer being the backbone of this industry, and as a former cow-calf producer myself, that is really close to my heart, and I appreciate that. Again, why do we kind of need to all be on the same page in terms of what we do and doing it well to make sure that we're producing the beef that's going to end up on plates?
So back to the consumer, I mean, we actually, the backbone is really not selling to the consumer. There's a few different people in between there. But being the backbone, we have to get that resource and start it out so whoever takes it from us can go on and produce that protein or that great piece of eating, that great eating experience farther down the line. So I think it's so important that we all get together, and there's so many different ways, so many different breeds, so many different styles, so many different grasses, all these things that we can argue about. But there's so many different consumers out there, we can all provide something for everybody. And if we do it right, we do it environmentally right, and we do it in a way that is sound, that the consumer can look at us and say, we can do that. I think we're on the right track.
And I think good stockmanship that you teach is definitely a common denominator among all producers, so thank you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I look at this whole thing, and I don't care if you're a grass finishing producer or working in a dairy, or you're a high-level Wagyu producer, or if you're finishing cattle in a large feedlot, the stockmanship is always a component of it. And the way those cattle, if cattle chew their cud, I think we're doing good. If they're not chewing their cud, we're doing something wrong. And that doesn't matter what breed or what level of the industry in. So I try to get cattle lay down, get full, chew their cud, and be happy. And then I think we're doing the right thing no matter where we're at.
I agree. Kurt, thanks always for your insights. It's so nice to talk to you every time we see you. Thanks again.
I have fun.
Kevin, we'll send it back to you.
These training sessions provide valuable hands-on learning in the area of beef quality assurance and low-stress cattle handling. There are 2 more events coming up in October, one in Texas and another in Washington. If you'd like to attend one of these sessions or see the rest of the event schedule, just visit the website stockmanshipandstewardship.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll visit an award-winning ranch in Texas that's improving the land for future generations. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When the field is your office, you never get tired of going to work. Cut, rake, bale, repeat. New Holland offers the power and versatility to get through the day. From small squares to large squares and everything in between, New Holland has you covered. Visit your local dealer today to find out more. New Holland, equipped for a new world.
Say goodbye to your toughest pasture and rangeland weeds for good. Because one product offers season-long control, handles the widest spectrum of broadleaf weeds, and clears the way for increased forage with greater grazing flexibility. So you get more beef per acre at a cost that can't be beat. It's Grazon Next HL herbicide, and if it's in your pastures, plain and simple, weeds won't be.
Welcome back. Cattlemen and women care for their land and their animals because they're committed to leaving a healthy landscape for future generations. That's especially the case for the regional winners of the 2018 Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's head to Texas for a closer look at the winning operation in Region 4.
Cattle are on the move on the Birdwell and Clark Ranch that ranges across more than 14,000 acres of North Texas. It's a scene that's repeated several times each day as husband and wife Emery Birdwell and Deborah Clark lift the fence wire and move their single herd of stocker cattle.
We have what we call a time-managed grazing method, or regenerative grazing. We have 140 permanent paddocks, and we'll run one herd of 5,000 all winter into the middle of the summer.
So this big herd moves anywhere from 3 to 6 times a day. It depends on the quality and the size of the paddock in front of us, the quality of the grasses that we see. 3 to 5, 4 to 6, again, it's multiple moves a day.
We don't want to stay any one place too long, and so by moving every day, we're not doing that. We don't want to get back to that place too quick. So we have to have our grazing planning to know that we're not going to be back, and we have to monitor our grass growth and what's going on out here.
The Birdwell and Clark Ranch was founded in 2004 Emery grew up in the cattle business, but for Deborah, grazing cattle to make a living from the land was a new experience.
I'm married into this, it's not in my DNA. And so I didn't know what all I was looking at. When now through the lens of 14 years, I realized that what I was looking at was largely a monoculture of little blue stem. There was about 25% of the ranch was bare ground. There were areas of the ranch that were definitely overgrazed, and there were areas of the ranch that were definitely undergrazed.
The thing about what we do is every day we got a chance to learn something new, whether it's the grass, the cattle, or each other.
Emery and Deborah take a holistic approach to managing their land and using animal impact to improve forage diversity. They began with 3 herds of stocker cattle, but when severe drought hit in 2011, they switched to running as many as 5,000 head in a single herd.
One herd grazing is not new science, but one herd grazing at this scale has, as far as I know, never been done.
We were seeing positive impacts from the 3 herds, but when we combined into that one big herd, the benefits that were produced were explosive. In that, it was the diversity of the grasses and the forbs. It was in covering the bare ground, just like what you see behind me.
It forced us first to go to the one herd grazing method. Then we had to come up with a water plan. We knew someday we was going to have to fix the water, and we were forced to fix it. So we went to land pipeline.
Fixing the water included a partnership with NRCS to run more than 25 miles of pipeline throughout the ranch. Then Emery had the idea of cutting a propane tank in 2 to create a mobile watering trough.
Well, we move the cattle, and then at the same time we move that water trough, we'll have a valve set up in that paddock where we can hook that poly pipe that's connected to that water trough to that valve and turn the water on and go. And then every time they move to change permanent paddocks, we move that water trough with them.
We use that mobile water trough throughout the entire ranch, moving it to areas where we want to see animal impact, or in areas where we don't need the animal impact, we move it away from that. But that's what that mobile water trough offers us, tremendous flexibility in using the entire resource of the ranch.
With the water system in place, cattle have been fenced out of riparian areas and stock tanks, allowing for better grazing distribution and rest periods of as much as 120 days for each paddock. And after 14 years of time-managed grazing, the positive impact on the land is visible.
I believe that people can look at what Emery and Deborah have done here with just grazing management. And they have turned this place around and brought the whole ranch in an upward swing of condition and much more healthy environment. None of it is at risk now. They've rescued all the areas that were really sick, and its total ranch is in good condition and getting better.
The fact that we've covered up that bare ground, that's more proof to me than anything that what we're doing is right.
We are ranching so that we can improve the health of this soil, we can increase the organic matter, we can capture the carbon, sequester it and put it down into the soil. Once you get that soil health moving in the right direction, the benefits can be seen in the grasses, and certainly that results in more pounds on your cattle.
You could say that Deborah and Emery, they could bring the piece of ground back to life. This grass here is a Eastern Gamma grass, and this grass didn't make a presence on this ranch till about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's due to Deborah and Emery's system and their management style that this grass and many others like it have shown up in different parts of the ranch.
Eastern Gamma grass is just one indicator of resource health. With plant diversity, wildlife habitat is abundant, and Emery and Deborah often host visitors to share the variety of ways they're trying to continuously improve the ranch. And each day, they work together to build a legacy on the land.
We've been given a gift, and it's our responsibility to take care of it. And in this regard, it's not just to keep it in a sustainable state, but it's to improve it in a regenerative state. That's what stewardship means to me. It's our obligation to take care of this gift we've been given.
Right now, I actually love growing grass and improving this ground, because there's not going to be any more land, and this is our legacy. This is our chance to make a difference.
Now, if you'd like to find out more about the Environmental Stewardship Award winners, see photos and videos from their operations, or even learn how to nominate someone for the award, visit environmentalstewardship.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll tell you why now is a perfect time to become a member of the nation's largest and oldest association representing cattle and beef producers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for outstanding genetics that will work for you, then make plans now to be at the 2018 CK Cattle Headquarters Sale on October 26th in Hope Hall, Alabama. CK Cattle is a 3-generation operation offering the best in Angus, Key Angus, and Sim Angus bulls and females, backed by a family that cares about their customers.
The customer is the most important thing in our operation. You know, the CK guarantee is pretty simple. I mean, we live by the golden rule. We want to treat you like you want to be treated. If you have a problem with your bull, we're going to back them.
Don't miss their 2018 sale offering more than 100 solid 2-year-old bulls and 100 females, including 30 tiger-striped F1 Brayford heifers. It all happens Friday, October 26th. Learn more at the website ckcattle.com.
Each year, a huge crowd turns out for the Cattle Industry Convention and Ncba Trade Show. It's a unique and fun environment for cattle industry members to come together to network, create policy for the industry, and to have some fun. And the good news is that convention registration is now open. We asked cattlemen and women from around the country why this event is one they can't afford to miss.
I attend Ncba convention for 3 reasons. One is because of the meetings and making sure that my voice is heard so that we can set policy that gives the marching orders to our staff as far as where we want them to spend their time on. The next reason is for the continuing education. I really feel like that some of the meetings provide me with more information about how I can work smarter and a little bit better, more efficiently on my ranch. But the third reason is just as important, and it's networking. A lot of us don't really feel like we have time to get off our ranch, so I feel like it's really important that we do take the time to network, to talk to our peers. Sometimes that is even more important than the continuing education.
The annual meeting is really, there's 2 sides to it. For some of us, we're really busy. There's a lot of, it's the one time a year when we all get together, and while we may have been talking on the phone or having conference calls, we get face to face and we can deal with some issues and figure out what our policy is going to be so that our staff in DC can do their job. The other part of it is it's the networking. I've met so many people and got to know so many people across this nation and got to know better how they raise cattle, why they do what they do, why we do what we do, and we are very diverse. And it's the one time a year that I feel like we can come together, we can have a lot of fun, but we can also get our work done for the rest of the year.
You know, I think the real value of it is not just the programming and things, the great speakers you'll see, the trade show at convention. It's talking to other producers. The things you talk about in the hall, in the corner of the trade show, so many times bring you just as much value as what you've paid to come. But it also gets the conversation started by what you see at the trade show, what you hear as speaker. So I think that's the great thing, is that come and visit with your neighbors. Those people that live 2 hours away that you don't see, you'll see them at convention and get caught up. So come on to New Orleans, we'll have a great time, and we'll go from there.
It doesn't matter if you're a first-timer or a long-time convention attendee, we want to see you in New Orleans. The 2019 convention runs from January 30th through February 1st. Registration is now open, so don't wait. Sign up today. Go to ncba.org for all the details. One of the most important things cattlemen and women can do is join the fight to protect our industry by becoming a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And here to tell us more about the value and some of the benefits of NCBA membership is Mary B. Hallstrm. Mary B., what is the value of cattlemen and women becoming members of NCBA?
As a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, we protect your interest on Capitol Hill. Decisions that are being made in Washington, D.C. not only affect cattle producers today, but cattle producers in our future generations. We have a dedicated staff in D.C. that work on your behalf each and every day.
So why is it so important for folks to be members both of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and also their respective state association?
We encourage both being a member of the state association as well as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, because the bigger voice both of them have, the more that can be done on your behalf.
And you know, you're right in the middle, I understand, of a fall membership drive. Can you tell us a little bit more about that campaign?
Yeah, so some of you guys will be receiving some material in the mail about our fall membership campaign. We just ask you to look over that information, call us if you have any questions, and really think about joining NCBA. If you already are a member, we encourage you to go to your neighbor and ask your neighbor to be a member of both your state association and your national association, because the biggest thing is the bigger voice we have, the more we can get done on Capitol Hill.
So obviously the primary benefit of being an NCBA member is being represented on Capitol Hill, but there are also some other benefits folks receive when they become a member. Can you tell us more about those?
Yeah, when you become a new member, you receive a coupon for a free bottle, 1 liter bottle of Dectamax, which is sponsored by Zoetis. But that is not the real reason you should become a member. It's all the things that we do on Capitol Hill. That's just a thank you for being a member.
Yeah, but it's a great thank you. And with that, thank you for coming and telling us a little bit more about membership.
Thanks for having me.
Mary B. mentioned some of the great reasons to become an NCBA member, but another is the chance to read the National Cattlemen. It's the official publication of NCBA and provides timely news and articles about the issues and events affecting the beef industry. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member. Just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll take you inside a research center in Nebraska that's making a positive impact on the beef industry. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Case IH, we believe it's our job to provide you with solutions. That's why our Farmall and Maxim tractors, as well as our tools and attachments, are designed with you in mind. From mowing to baling to loading and more, we're here to help turn your to-dos into to-dones. At Case IH, we'll keep your days running smoothly with equipment that's durable, versatile, and highly efficient. No wonder farmers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Visit your local dealer or go to caseih.com/livestock for more.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll have access to key policy updates and insights from Beltway Beef. It's the best way to hear directly from NCBA's DC team. Beltway Beef provides valuable policy information, and it's free for NCBA members. Stay in touch with Beltway Beef. Join now at ncba.org.
Scientific research into areas like safety and quality can have long-term benefits for the U.S. beef industry. Luckily for us, there are many groups and agencies across the U.S. that are developing the tools and technologies that cattle producers can use in their own operations. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Matt Fleck has a look at a research facility in Nebraska that has helped many cattle producers throughout the years and is still going strong today.
If you're passing through south-central Nebraska near Clay Center, it's easy to spot the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center. What always catches the eye is the grass-covered bunkers that dot the landscape in all directions.
The center is built on the property that was used for the Naval Ammunition Depot that got started around 1942 for World War II and continued on through the Korean War. In the mid-60s, they decided they didn't need that property for that use anymore, and so we got a portion of that property, about 34,000 acres, to be used for a USDA research center.
We have 3 species of animals that we're studying out here besides cattle. There's also about 2,500 ewes, and then we have about 500 sows in our swine facility that we do work on.
In the decades since those naval depot days, the Meat Animal Research Center, or MARC as it's commonly called, has operated under a partnership between USDA's Agricultural Research Service and the University of Nebraska. Around 45 full-time scientists are involved with the beef program. Their goal is to turn out research that can be applied on the farm, ranch, or feedlot.
I like to tell folks when they come here that we study everything from conception to consumption, and in the cow-calf area for sure that is absolutely the case. And we are able to do a lot of those things because of the wide breadth of scientists that we do have. Everything from microbiologists to nutritionists and geneticists and everything in between.
Well, the current mission is not a lot different from the mission we've had all along, which is to try to develop ways that producers can produce an efficient and safe and quality product. Genomics is a very big emphasis. We are one of the leaders in the world in livestock genomics.
The research that happens here at USMARC is not something that just benefits Nebraskans only. It benefits us all, whether you're in Washington all the way to Florida. So they do great work here that benefits beef as a whole.
Groundbreaking work, like they do at MARC, requires a large number of animals. The research center has more than 8,000 cows on pasture and more than 6,000 in the feed yard. All told, 18 breeds of cattle are represented throughout the various herds.
We have a little bit of everything out here, a rainbow herd, as some people would call it for sure. With those 18 different breeds, different composites within those breeds, different percentages of purebreds and crossbreds within that. There really is a little bit of everything out here. There's some stuff that you don't normally see in south central Nebraska for sure that we have studying out here. And I remind ourselves and our crews that we're not just the Nebraska Research Center, we're the United States Meat Animal Research Center. So we study cattle that definitely are not very common in this area.
We're collecting this information under conditions that are more like that are used in the industry. So a lot of the industry, feedlots are large, so we don't have just a pen or two of cattle, but we have a whole feedlot of them. And also the numbers make it so that we can get more accurate information on the things we're measuring.
Animal welfare is the highest priority at MARC. Many members of the crew have their own operations, and they're serious about managing the livestock here just as well as they would their own.
Animal care is our #1 priority each and every day, and the health of our animals is incredibly important to us. We spend a lot of time training on it, training on how to diagnose and treat animal issues or diseases. Where we are a research facility and we handle these animals a lot, I would say animal handling is maybe even more important, but certainly just as important as it would be at any ranch or feed yard that you would go to. We have oversight from different agencies within the government that are out here all the time. We have stakeholders out here all the time, and we're always showing them what we're doing, and we want them to be happy with what they see and proud of what we're doing out here, and we always take into account their suggestions and work to implement anything we need to change.
The employees out here at MARC are phenomenal. The way they take care of the animals, the way they care for the animals, and also the land. That is really important because this facility couldn't be doing what it's been doing for the number of years it's been doing if they haven't been doing these things right.
The scientists and staff at the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center know their work has had a positive impact on the beef industry. It's a goal they will continue to pursue for years to come.
We always hope that we can continue to do our research, continue to be relevant to the producers and also the industry as a whole, to put better food on people's plates and in a safe way.
Having publicly funded or government funded research that's not biased and gets to the bottom line is crucially important for food security and for the foreseeable sustainability of cattle production. Ultimately, whether you're a consumer or whether you're a producer, you have ownership here. You have a stake in this place because it's your tax dollars that support it, and we want you to be happy with and proud of what you see. And I think that you'll see that when you're here. You'll see conscientious caretakers and good stewards of the facility and of the land.
Reporting from Clay Center, Nebraska, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
You can find out more about the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center and see the results of some of their studies by visiting the website for the Agricultural Research Service. That address is ars.usda.gov. Still ahead, it's time for a visit with our good friend Baxter Black. Stay with us.
When a new calf hits the ground, his clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives him his best odds, but if he doesn't get any, his time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. Fill them with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Get yours at oxfordag.com. Costs less than a dead calf.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
Somebody asked me what people have had the greatest influence on my life. Well, one of them has to be Rupert Mansell. Mr. Mansell was my VOAG teacher, here by the owl. The owl is a symbol of wisdom. Well, it's hard for a 16-year-old kid to evaluate wisdom. Most of our projects included 4 or 5 scraggly sheep or a couple steers. Sure, there was a few kids whose folks were good farmers and had impressive projects, but Rupert, as we called him, treated us all the same. What we all had was a love of agriculture and the optimism of youth. He taught us that dirt was under your fingernails and soil was what you tilled. He tried to teach us how to weld and work on machinery, block sheep, fit a steer, castrate a hog, and how to tell a rib steak from a chuck. It was not until much later that I came to realize how much a VOAG teacher has to know. I said Rupert treated everybody the same. That's not quite true, since he made me feel like I was special. But if the truth were known, he probably made us all feel that way. When we decided to invite the governor to be the speaker at our local FFA banquet, he said to go ahead, but don't advertise it in case the gov didn't show. We sent out invitations to all the school board, principal, and other dignitaries, but most declined. They had other things to do. The day before the banquet, the governor confirmed. It came out in the paper. Suddenly, the local dignitaries were calling, trying to get tickets. Overnight, they had developed a sincere interest in the FFA. I like to think it was one of Rupert's finest hours. For all you dedicated VOAG teachers, I salute you. But I remind you that you're in a position to shape young people's lives, like mine. It's no small responsibility. And to Mr. Mansell, from all us ex-reporters, green hands, state farmers, soil judges, girls and boys, if we ever amount to anything, you had a hand in it. Yep, you, there by the owl. This is Baxter Black from out there. Thanks.
Thanks, Baxter. We're all grateful for the ag teachers and other role models who have made such an important impact on our life. Want to rewatch an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen or catch up on anything you've missed? Then visit our YouTube page. You'll find all our shows filled with educational segments and producer profiles from all across the country. It's also another chance to see Baxter Black. So check us out on YouTube. And we're back right after this.
If you're looking for a do-it-all tractor, look no further than Case IH Maxim Series tractors. With 3 available transmission configurations, Maxim tractors deliver the versatility today's cattle operations demand. The Case IH Maxim provides you the maneuverability and horsepower you need to accomplish a variety of tasks. Whether you're haying, feeding, or performing loader work, the Maxim tractor is the perfect tractor to turn your to-dos into to-dones. The new Active Drive 8 transmission allows you to work from 2 to 10 miles per hour without shifting ranges. In the cab, you'll find industry-leading operator comfort and convenience like our suspended cab and air ride seat. Maxim cabs deliver the productivity and comfort you deserve. Once you drive a Case IH Maxim Series tractor, you'll understand why customers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Talk to your Case IH dealer or visit caseih.com/minute to schedule a demo.
The 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and Ncba Trade Show is set for the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's the cattle industry's biggest convention with education, networking, and fun. Plus, you can check out the huge Ncba Trade Show, outstanding entertainment, and much more. So let's go to New Orleans for the 2019 Cattle Industry Convention and Ncba Trade Show, January 30th through February 1st. Details at ncba.org.
Welcome back. As a viewer of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we want to hear from you. If you have questions or comments or even a story idea for us, drop us an email and we may use them on a future show. Send us your thoughts at our email address, that's c2c@beef.org. And you can always reach us and NCBA through the website ncba.org. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.